WKRO 217, your news for Nowhere.
Good evening, Nowhere. This is Silas Caldwell, your charming comrade for the creepy. We are happy to have you, whether you're tuning in from your car, your couch, or at that long line outside the Nowhere Mall. Though if it's the latter, you're already part of tonight's horror story. But before we dive into all that, let's start with a few announcements, or as I'd like to call them, warnings. For citizens not camping out right now, the most cursed place in Nowhere, the mall, opens its doors at midnight for the annual Black Friday blowout. But be warned, the minute those doors open is when your humanity closes. Expect slash prices, broken promises, and at least 2 trampled Santas by dawn. But for the townsfolk who aren't brave enough to face the horde and are taking their shopping online, Python Market will be offering jaw-breaking sales this Cyber Monday, and they recently expanded their drone fleet to deliver inside homes. You won't have to lift a finger this year, but if you get too close to the drone's blades, you may lose one. Do your best to keep all your receipts and phalanges. Now let's hear from tonight's sponsor and jump into tonight's episode.
Introducing the all-new Python Plus 2.0, now with biometric emotion tracking. It feels what you feel and sells it back to you. Sign up today and receive a free subscription to Prime Sim. Python Market, shop, sleep, repeat.
Hope you get a bite of those deals before they get a bite of you. Now on to tonight's story. You're on with Silas. Tell us, what's keeping you company tonight?
Hi, Silas. My name is Reagan, and I guess what's keeping me company is debt.
A modern haunting. Tell us about it.
Well, I've always been bad with money. Kind of ironic since my mom worked for Nowhere Credit Union. You'd think frugality was hereditary, right? But no. Guess that gene skipped me like a bad check.
And what did our little spender do this time?
I was in a sticky situation. Already sold everything else worth money. I was even going to donate DNA to that Tofurkey company, but that went dark.
Huh. She didn't mention outsourcing last week, but seems on brand for her.
So I joined a study. It was supposed to help people like me, compulsive shoppers. It said it was harmless, just a behavioral research opportunity. All we had to do was wear these new watches.
Oh, I'm sure. What's the name of the fine institution running this little experiment? Harvard? Stanford? Satan?
Python Market.
Our incredible sponsor. Walk us through what happened.
After our introduction and onboarding, our study group was herded over to the mall after hours. Bright lights, fake snow. The whole thing looked like a winter wonderland built by a marketing team on drugs. First week's goal was to buy one thing under $10 that made us happy. Simple enough. I bought socks with little dogs on them.
Who doesn't like dogs?
Psychopaths, Silas. So it was then I met Jazz Wallace. She was cute, kind of quiet, wore this really unique perfume that smelled like cinnamon. She said it reminded her of when home felt happy and cozy. When we started hanging out more after the study orientation, I used to lean in a little closer than I needed to, just to catch that scent.
Love amongst the socks?
You could say that. We hit it off pretty quick. We did the first couple of shopping tasks together, and then I finally got the guts to ask her out. She said yes. I felt happier than any shopping high had ever made me feel. I even asked her out to a spot that could work for the study, so it'd be a write-off too. That way she'd know I was serious about getting my finances in order.
That's a smart move.
Thanks. It was one of my better ideas. It wasn't anything fancy, just a taco joint in the mall known for doing the most insane Tex-Mex combos you could think of. I was so nervous that I brought us back 3 trays of their different nacho specialties because I didn't know which one Jazz would like.
That doesn't sound so fiscally responsible.
You know, the weird thing was that thought left my mind the moment I got to the counter. It felt right to order more. I checked it up to my nerves, but I also remember the watch vibrating as I ordered, like it was logging my actions, and it made me feel better about splurging.
Doesn't sound like they were trying to train you to save money then.
They said the watch was training us through exposure therapy. But you know what's funny, Silas? The first time Jazz and I ever went out, none of this felt strange. I guess I was too hypnotized by her. We just sat there for hours, talking about nothing. About the weird songs that played in the mall, about how she loved pizza pretzels even though they made her sick, about how she was doing this study to save enough money to take her little sister and leave nowhere someday.
Well, no one ever leaves nowhere, kid.
I know, but wishful thinking. We were caught up in the future. We didn't know yet that the future was already out of our control. Because every week after that first day, the watch's recommendations got stronger. It would vibrate when you walked past certain stores, flash green when you spent money, and if you didn't, it buzzed red. Hard. Almost like it was disappointed.
Listeners, don't disappoint yourselves by missing out on our tales of the disturbing and creepy. Give this video a like, hit that subscribe button, and ring the notification bell. So, Reagan, do you think any of Python's methods were working?
Honestly, no. The more I bought, the better I felt. Jess said hers did the same. We'd meet every Saturday, check off our shopping list, grab dinner, laugh about the stupid watch, until it stopped being funny. Our tasks felt more and more compulsive. We just shopped. It wasn't about wanting anymore. Everything felt necessary. We were buying junk we didn't even like, and it was starting to impact other impulses, too.
Like what?
Eating, for one. One night, we went to the diner in the mall, that one near the atrium, and the watch would vibrate with every bite. If we slowed down, it would shock us. So we kept eating more. We couldn't stop.
It had the ability to physically harm you?
Yes, but honestly, I was more concerned with what it was doing to us mentally. When we finished eating, we just sat there, waiting for it to tell us what came next. Soon, I started noticing changes in myself. I'd get restless if I wasn't at the mall. I couldn't focus on anything at home. The walls felt too still. The silence felt wrong. But then the moment I stepped in the mall, I'd relax. Like it was breathing me in. Jazz said she felt it too. She said it was like the air here knew her name. Our dates got longer, our purchases stranger. Finger puppets that look cute, matching booty jammies that look like aliens, a gold-plated toilet seat. I even got a timeshare that I still don't know how to get rid of.
You and every timeshare owner.
They were all things neither of us needed, but every time the watch glowed green, it was like we'd hit some hidden jackpot. We couldn't stop chasing it. And then, by the 5th week, the intensity turned up.
Turned up?
The watches changed. They didn't just buzz anymore. They corrected us. If we hesitated in front of a store, a sharp vibration shot up my arm, like a rubber band snapping tendons. If we walked too slow past a sale sign, it sent these tiny electric pulses. Not enough to knock you down, just enough to make your teeth ache and your brain jolt. But the worst part was when we tried to look away. If an ad screen flashed and I didn't give it my full attention, the watch heated up, like hot enough that my skin stuck to the metal when I tried to pull it away. And I couldn't get it off.
Wait, what?
We'd gotten this bonus for upgrading the band to an industrial strength version. Apparently too many people kept losing their other watches. So this was Python's way of making sure the watch wouldn't get lost. But really, I think they just wanted to make sure they had full control.
How was it strapped on?
With clamps and screws. The clamps latched it, and the screws made sure we couldn't remove it.
You know, I hear permanent bracelets are all the rage with the teens these days.
Well, good for them, but not me in this case. It felt like a shackle on my wrist. I didn't need the reminder that I was no longer in control. I felt like I was losing my mind to this thing.
Why?
It started using my own head against me. If I resisted a purchase, these thoughts would hit me. Like urges that felt like they were mine, but crueler. Buy it or you'll never get ahead. Buy it or you're worthless. Buy it or Jazz will never look. Well, you get the idea. Uncontrollable, intrusive thoughts. And they didn't stop until I'd scanned something, anything, at checkout. I'd be sweating through my clothes, shaking until I caved. Every purchase numbed the pain just long enough for me to catch my breath before the next shock hit.
How did Jazz react?
Jazz never fought it. Not really. She just drifted deeper and deeper in. She started skipping shifts at work and totally devoting her time to the study. I don't even know if she saw her little sister anymore.
How could she afford that?
We were dating, not married, Silas. I don't know. I just know how bad my finances had gotten by that point. I'd maxed out 2 credit cards in one night. I'd wake up in the food court surrounded by bags and receipts I didn't remember buying. I can only imagine how much debt we were both in at that point. But honestly, I wasn't even worried about the money anymore.
But that's why you were doing this study. It was for the money.
Right, but my priority was starting to shift more to our health and well-being than our financial futures. Jazz started getting these gnarly nosebleeds when we would shop. First, it was just little speckles of blood that would stain her shirt, and then it turned into full-on gushing rivers of blood. One was so bad that she had to sit down to avoid fainting. That's when I knew we had to quit. The money was not worth being in that study anymore.
How were you going to get the watch band off?
I hadn't thought that far ahead yet. I was more worried about trying to convince Jazz to do it in the first place. She was so much deeper under its influence than I was. And even worse, we were about to enter Phase 2.
What was Phase 2?
I was hoping not to find out. My plan was to show up, talk to Jazz, and have us both exit the program before it even started. But I didn't get the chance. We were escorted into the mall after hours again and met in the atrium. All the other participants were already there when I arrived, and they didn't look human anymore. Every single one of them had that dreamy, glazed-over stare, pupils blown, mouth slack, and Jazz was one of them. Standing still, arms at her side, dried blood under her nose. I grabbed her hand and said, "Jazz, we can't do this. We need to stop. Something is wrong with us." And she said, "Please."
And so you said yes.
I didn't want to. God, I didn't. But she looked at me with this fleeting softness, like the real her was trapped underneath all that programming, and this was the last thread she had left. Like, if I said no, she'd break apart right there. So I said, okay, one last spree. I figured I'd stay close, watch her, pull her out before anything got too bad. I thought agreeing would buy me time to help her. But the second I said it, I regretted it. The doors locked behind us, and this voice over the speakers crackled out, Phase 2 initiated. And that was the moment everyone snapped. Their trance broke, but not back into sanity. Into something much, much worse. The store doors around the atrium unlocked all at once, and everyone ran. Were like charged, like starving animals breaking out of cages. I grabbed Jazz's arm and screamed, stay with me, but she didn't even look at me. She just bolted. You know those Black Friday videos where people trample each other for TVs? Child's play. This was carnage. Bodies crashing through glass displays, tripping over mannequins, clawing at each other for anything with a barcode. One guy smashed through a display window with his forehead. Glass was lodged in his cheeks, and he just kept going for a stack of sweaters. A woman tackled a teenager over a toaster oven and slammed his face in the linoleum until his nose went flat. I even saw one man jump the counter at the kitchen store and start slicing himself with the display knives as he dug them out of packaging. He didn't even scream when his blood splattered all over the floor.
Not sure if Club Soda is going to get that one out. So why weren't you affected by all this?
I honestly don't know. Maybe it was Jazz? The watch wanted me to want things, but I wanted her. And that's not something you can scan and check out. I just know that all I was focused on in that moment was finding Jazz and getting her out. I kept pushing through the crowd, searching, and then I smelled it. Cinnamon and blood. So much blood. To this day, when I smell cinnamon, I feel so sick.
Pumpkin spice season must be real fun for you.
I finally found her in an electronics store, grabbing merchandise so fast that her fingernails ripped backwards. Blood streaked across the shelves like red paint. I ran to her and grabbed her shoulders and said, Chaz, stop. Look at me, please. She turned and her face was streaked with blood. I told her, this isn't you. We have to go. Right now. She just gave me this slow smile and responded, one last spree. And then her watch snapped her arm forward like a puppet, and she grabbed for another display. A man in a Santa hat lunged at her, tried to grab the console in her arms. She turned and bit him. Blood sprayed across the TV wall behind them, and he scrambled away on all fours like some kind of praying mantis. Jazz just turned back and kept shopping. And that's when I knew I couldn't save her. I could only save myself. I stumbled towards the emergency exit and the watch activated. It sent a shock so fierce through my body that I fell to my knees. It was a pain I didn't know the human body could feel. Like 1,000 needles driving into every one of my nerves. I tried to reach for the door again, but that electricity rushed through me and the clamp tightened until the bones in my wrist creaked. The metal heated up and started blistering my skin, and then this synthetic voice came through the speakers.
Exit attempt detected. Transaction incomplete.
I knew what that meant. get out. But I couldn't leave as long as this damn thing was on me.
So what did you do?
I staggered into the maintenance hallway, one of the only places not overflowing with bodies. And inside was a dusty old first aid kit, a rusted fire axe, a roll of torn linen, and a mirror. I stood there staring at my reflection, at the sweat, the blood, the bite marks, the bruises, and that watch glowing red. Every time I tried to peel it off, the screws dug deeper into the bone. It had grown into me. I had to make a decision, and quick.
Please don't tell me what I think you're going to say.
I knew I had to do it before the panic swallowed me whole. I smashed my fist through the glass and grabbed the axe. Then I took the linen from the first aid kit and tied it as tight as I could above my elbow to make a tourniquet. The watch must have sensed something. It started vibrating violently, trying to stop me, but I swung.
Oh my God.
The first hit missed, caught bone, and I screamed so loud, I blacked out momentarily. Second blow, cracked through the radius. Third, fourth, by the fifth swing, I wasn't a person anymore, just pain and desperation. When the hand finally detached, the watch landed on the floor, still buzzing, twitching like some kind of restaurant buzzer.
What did you do about the bleeding?
I wrapped it as fast as I could, but I was losing blood fast. I didn't know how long I had. I limped back towards the atrium and found the emergency door. I whispered, "I'm so sorry, Chaz." And then I went out. Cold night air hit me like a slap, and the door slammed shut behind me.
Did you go straight to the hospital?
I think so. I don't remember. I woke up in the hospital, missing an arm and with no answers. Police said someone had called them and had me transported to the emergency room. I told them my experience with Python. I told them about Jazz, but all they told me was that there was no Python study. Like, the whole thing never happened. I cut up my credit cards that night, but sometimes I still feel it. That itch when I pass a sale sign. The watch is gone, but whatever it trained in me, I don't know if that ever leaves.
What do you think happened to Jazz?
I never saw her again. Sometimes when I drive by the mall at night, I swear I see her in the windows, still wandering, still shopping. But I think that's just my imagination. Or my survivor's guilt. I survived the study. She didn't. Surviving doesn't feel like much of a victory.
Survival rarely does. Listeners, let this be tonight's lesson. Not everything that tracks you is on your side. Some things don't want your progress, they want your purchases. So if something seems too good to be true, too easy of a money scheme, ask yourself who's really in control. You may be the product. And don't forget to leave us a comment about what you're buying off Python. We're interested in what your subscribe and save screams about you. This is Silas Codwell reminding you to guard your time, your heart, and your wallet.